eventually you get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to No Repeat. It's a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create the perfect playlist for your triathlon. Joining me are my co-hosts, Tyler Reed.
Just a quick little PSA. The machine in Rage Against the Machine is the government.
And Sean Evans.
Yep.
Some people don't know.
15-year-old Tyler didn't know.
I do 5 seconds in. I was like, oh, this is about the government.
Oh, you didn't know that?
It was, it is, and most of Twitter still does not believe it.
The inciting incident was that I liked playing Killing a Name on Guitar Hero, and then I asked my mommy to take me to FYE to buy a CD, and then I put it in the car, and the first song is like, blowing up the White House or something. I don't know. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, okay. Well, what were the Goo Goo Dolls singing about in Big Machine then?
Well, the machine is different for everyone, and it can mean different things. That's the beauty of language and metaphor.
What if the machine was love? What if you were raging against love?
What if it was the big red machine and they were just really against sports betting?
Man, that was a really only 40 years too late Pete Rose joke.
Hey man, I'm nothing if not regionally topical.
Hey, no, that's great. Just make sure your check clears. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Beach Ball Roll Arena, your check's in the mail.
Well, Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
This week, we're challenged to find the perfect song for buying and riding a new bicycle. Submitted by the man himself, the song surfing podcast host, John Kell. Thanks, John. And if you want to submit your own challenge, you can DM us, add us, No Repeat Pod on Instagram or Twitter. You can always send us an email too. It's a little more methodical. You can put a little bit more on there, not limited to 140 characters. NoRepeatPod@gmail.com. Thanks so much.
Will all those present who have acquired a new bicycle in the last week signify by the sound of I? I.
Oh.
And those who have not acquired a new bicycle this week, nay.
Nay.
Way to mess up the challenge, buddy.
We were supposed to go out and buy a bike this week.
Whoops.
Turns out this week had a financial investment, too.
I feel like we didn't talk about that before we began.
No, it really just worked out. It really just worked out this way. Sean, you were already planning to buy a bike, right?
Yeah, I've listen, when you love bikes as much as I do, and
you're always looking.
Your love has tortured you the way that bikes have tortured me. You can't get away from them. You try. They've hurt you in the past. And you don't know why you keep going back, but you just can't get away.
Man, I feel this because I acquired my second bicycle over the weekend. I did not pay money for this bicycle, but I did acquire a bicycle. I'm in a Buy Nothing group, which I feel like most people who listen to this probably know what Buy Nothing is. But if you don't, it's a network of local Facebook groups. There's one in your neighborhood for sure, where people give away stuff for free. It's like a swap meet, essentially, on Facebook. They're usually very strictly limited to like a single zip code, and you have to answer questions to get in, so they keep spammers out. But somebody was giving away an 80s Panasonic road bike in my Buy Nothing group. And I texted Sean, and I was like, should I go get it? And Sean was like, you should go get it. So I drove over and got it. And now I have this broken down bike in my house, and my fiance was like, what are we doing with a broken down bike in our house? And I said, ask Sean. This is his fault.
Technically, you didn't buy it.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to put money into this bike.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
you can't not put money into bikes. That's all they are.
Well, and Sean's seen pictures. I might put a picture in the show notes. The one side of the handlebars is completely bent in.
Oh, yeah. Totally trash.
I posted a picture on the bicycling subreddit, and someone was like, that looks like a head-on collision just happened.
Uh-oh.
So... Sean and I are going to spend some time on FaceTime this week, and we're going to test this bike to make sure it hasn't completely been smashed by a car, because I'm a little worried that it's going to be not worth the investment I'd have to put into it to ride it. But that's bikes for you.
Well, at the very least, you didn't pay anything for it, so...
No, and so if I leave it on the curb and somebody else takes it, fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
But Sean, this is your How many bikes do you own currently, and how many bikes cumulatively have you owned as an adult?
And how many do you want to own?
This is my second bike.
This is the second bike in your household currently.
Nope, well, my wife has a bike. I have 2 bikes for myself.
But you have had more than 2 bikes cumulatively over the course of your adulthood.
Yes.
Give us a ballpark. How many you think?
That I've had in my adulthood.
Since college, since undergrad.
No less than 15, no more than 25.
What? All right.
I wanted to get that on the record because when I tell people that Sean loves bikes, they don't understand. Sean loves bikes.
I have a problem. It might have sounded like a comedy bit when I was talking in the beginning of the show about how bikes have hurt me in a way, and let's just be clear. When I was in 3rd grade, I literally broke my front teeth off in a bike accident, right? And to this day, as a grown-ass man, I continue to go out and race bikes. And buy them and work on them and dump money into them. Yeah, it's a thing. Like, I don't know if I can't learn. I don't know if I just have this sick problem. Have I gotten less stupid on bikes? Hell yeah. A lot less stupid. Do I always wear a helmet when I ride a bike now? Of course I do. But I just can't. Like, I sold a bike on Friday and turned that money into the new bike. And I didn't even wake up on Friday morning thinking I was going to buy a bike or sell a bike.
And the craziest thing about this is he's about to move across the country. And so rather than get rid of a bike to make his move easier, he said, no, I'm going to trade one bike for an even more expensive bike that I'm going to be even more worried about getting through the move safely.
Well, that was the point. The whole point was to get rid of the one bike so I wouldn't have to move it across the country. And then there was this other one, this pretty Kermit the Frog green one. And I was like, hey.
It is a pretty bike. It's a very pretty bike.
What are you doing? And it was like, I don't know, I'm just in a box. But I'll go home with you. And I was like, okay, you look adoptable. And now I have another bike.
Sean used to flip bikes, too.
Yeah, kick flips, back flips, front flips, all kinds of flips.
He's kidding, but he would buy garbage bikes or pick up garbage bikes from the side of the road and rebuild them and sell them for cash.
I know. That was one of in the past year, there was one that I saw just in the neighborhood, and someone's, they had cleaned out their basement, and it was, oh my God, I remember I showed you a picture of it, Taylor. It was called the Shogun. Oh, magical bike. 3-speed? Oh my God. It was the Pimp Mobile of old bikes. It was that sweet.
Listen to him. Listen to the longing in his voice, listeners.
I didn't go get it. I let it go.
He loves bikes. And that's why I couldn't let this free bike go. See, Josiah doesn't understand. He's like, now there's just another bike in our living room. And I'm like, yeah, but it was free. That's the best kind of bike. A bike that's free that I can put a bunch of money into.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right. You're just you're fostering the bike.
Yes.
Think about it like that. If it was a sweet fur baby, no one would even be saying anything to you about it. But as soon as it has 2 wheels and you put it in between your legs and have a great time, now all of a sudden it's something that nobody wants around. It's just it's terrible. It's awful. My last bike I found in a dumpster.
I remember Dumpster Bike. That was a good bike.
Fixed it up. Yeah, dumpster bike. That was the one I sold. Yeah, I made a sweet mint off that bike.
I bet you did. Tyler, when was the last time you owned a bike?
Do you know how to ride a bike?
I do. I know how to ride a bike. I like riding a bike.
Could you do it today?
Huh?
Could you ride a bike today?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I have a bike in the garage right now. I mean, it's literally like my parents' bike that from God knows how long ago. So it's probably, not super great condition, or probably needs some new tires or literally anything. So my previous place that I lived, it was a short bike rides away from a coffee shop, and so that's the reason why I stole it from my parents' house. I was like, I'll just ride down to the coffee shop.
Oh man, you were so hip.
Yeah.
What a life you lead.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you like talk about bikes, though, I mean, Taylor has like the most hipster bike of anybody that I know right now, with all
Love
of
my
its like
bike.
special little frame lugs and everything like that. It's a killer looking bike. It's just he's a total hipster.
And the craziest thing is, I had been looking for a bike for maybe 3 weeks, and I was sending Sean all these Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist screenshots, and I found this bike, and Sean was like, that is an awesome bike, if you can talk him down on the price. And I did, because dude was moving to Mexico City and just needed to get rid of it. And he was like, yeah, man, I'll give it to you for $100. I would bet I could sell that bike today for at least $200. It's a sweet
It's a cool bike.
mid-'80s Sakai road bike. It's a rare manufacturer out of Seattle. It's like a matte silver with white and black camo tape on the handlebars right now, which I don't love. I'm probably going to retape the bars soon, but it's such a cool bike. I love it to death. First bike, best bike. But now I've got this light blue Panasonic from around the same period that I'm going to try and restore. And if it's too much work, I'm going to throw it in the trash. But let's talk about New Bike Day, because now that I've had 2 of them, I feel the love, I feel the joy of New Bike Day, and I know Sean is very familiar with this feeling. What's your immediate move on New Bike Day, Sean? Like, you come upon a bike, whether it's in the shop or it's at a dumpster or wherever. Like, what are you looking for? What are you going to do? And what's your first ride like?
Oh, well, it has to be fun. It has to inspire me. That sounds like stupid because I've had so many, but that's how I know. Like, when I rode the bike that I bought this last week, when I first rode it, I was like, I don't get this bike. It's like dumb. I don't understand it, right? It's like a mountain bike, but it has drop handlebars. Like, this doesn't make sense at all. And then I rode another few bikes, but then after I rode some other bikes, I was like, I want to take that bike out one more time. And when I got on it and I did like a few pedal strokes outside of the shop, I just started smiling, and I had such a good time. And it finally clicked with me what this bike was about and what I wanted to do with this bike. And I was like, yes, this is glorious. I understand the romance of exploration and doing it on a bike. That was it. That was how I knew. And I went back and I talked to my wife, and who had been waiting in the bike shop for me for 2.5 hours, probably. Just sitting in a bike shop waiting for me to...
I feel like a bike shop is like, there's a lot of places you can be that you can find overlapping interests, or like something that you can like sort of like kind of idly kind of like look at. I feel like a bike shop, if you have no intent of purchasing and you have no need for any additional parts, you are just like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
I feel
I
out of
think
place
bike
in the
shops
bike
are
shop
one
and
of
I
the-
own a bike.
They're just full of nerds.
Yes.
Like, it's just one of those places where you're like just full. It feels like going to the computer store back
Is
in the
everyone-
day.
Is everyone wearing a rider's cap? Does everyone
No,
just have their
everybody's
flip?
wearing cargo shorts,
Oh
and
god, oh no.
shoes that are about 10 years old, and shirts that they got from doing bike related activities, because that's when you know that being a bike has completely captured your identity. Is, first off, you have more than one, and second, everything that you own has some sort of bike thing related to it, which is probably half of my wardrobe. Bike this, bike that.
And there's a smell. Bike shop has a smell.
Yeah, bike shop does have a smell.
Like a grease?
Yeah,
Like a tire?
Yeah, grease
like
and
a
rubber,
rubber.
and yeah.
chemical glues, different things like that.
I'm with you though.
I'm also very, very comfortable in spandex now. A few years ago, that was not my scene, but now,
Look
Yeah.
at you. Progressive.
I mean, my ass looks good
Bastion
in a
of
skin suit.
masculinity.
I'm just saying, I work hard on them games.
I'm with Sean though. I feel like I need the inspiration to strike. You know, I feel like the first ride that I took on my like actual bike, the one that I've been riding for about a year, it was just kind of like a test ride because I bought it used and I wanted to make sure that everything worked. And so it was truly just like, let me go on flat ground, make sure the brakes work, all that stuff. That ride doesn't count. My first real ride, I was feeling it, man. I took the bike trail near me, like 7 miles out from my house. I'm riding through the forest. I got my tunes on. I'm just like, I'm jamming, man. It's good. And I've realized now that this bike, this is like the city kids adventure bike. This is the bike that, like, there's a brewery almost exactly 10 miles from my house on the bike trail. So I can ride for an hour, get a beer, ride for an hour back. That is the sweet spot for this bike. Every bike has its thing, like what it's good at. And that's what my bike's good at. But, you know, you gotta feel it out. You gotta figure out, like, what the bike is good for. I do really want, like, a kind of a beater that I can just roll up to the farmer's market and throw a bunch of produce in a basket on, you know? I think that's what I'm going to do with this blue bike. When I was picking a song for today, I was trying to come up with something that was maybe a little bit subdued at first, because I wanted to go through, like, the experience of looking at the bikes. You know, it's kind of like the wand chooses the wizard, the bike chooses the rider.
Yeah. Yeah, it is like that, isn't it?
I wanted that kind of anticipation because, you know, it can be a process, but then when you find it, exultation, pure joy, cheese doodles raining from heaven. I needed that cathartic release of, like, the first time going down a big hill on your new bike. That's what I was after. What were you guys looking for?
A way to express how I feel trapped.
Dark, but okay.
Yeah, it's an irrational love that I have now.
Wait, can you say that? What did you say?
What? Which part?
What did you? The first thing you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wanted a song that made you feel trapped?
No, it expressed how I feel trapped.
Oh, okay.
I have a compulsion now. Some people are able to leave the life, but I don't think I can survive outside. I don't know how to do it.
So I have absolutely no context for this challenge whatsoever. It's probably been 20 years since I've purchased a bike, if at all. So I feel like for me, what I was trying to do is I was like, let's just fire up the old Googler, songs about a bike. Let's go, baby. And, you know, I was like, yeah, that's a little too on the nose, right? You know, I didn't want to choose bicycle race. You know, we could slap that in and you would say, well, surely if the point of the show is to pick a song that's perfect for the challenge, well, you know, it's sort of like it is also about sort of like the purchasing of it as well. And I was trying to think about that as well. And sort of, I was trying to think of more sort of like what is a good sort of like writing sound, you know, and I feel like what kind of happens is one song that felt free, that felt like a breeze, that felt like open and sort of like loose, that kind of like what a bike makes me feel, and that was really the only like kind of like general vibe I was going for. And so I managed to find a song that both was tangentially about bikes and sort of had that vibe. I don't know, it's kind of hard, it's one of those challenges that's really hard to describe a feeling, which I realize is our entire job, but it's this one was a thinker in that I feel like none of us were really going to choose like a song about the thing. This is sort of like a vibe check almost exclusively. And that's fine.
Real-time follow-up for the listeners. Babe, how do you feel about me bringing another bike into the house?
Absolutely negative in every way, especially considering it's a broken bike.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. No one wants to hear that hate speech.
Thanks.
He can't hear you, but Sean's yelling, shut your mouth. No one wants to hear that hate speech. We're doing a challenge about bikes. It was research I had to.
It's full research. It's a broken bike, and I can't eat it at my kitchen table anymore.
Love you.
You damn well better.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by
Disney record guy on TikTok. Please follow my spouse so he lets me keep this bike.
There we go.
Who wants to go first?
You know, I should just go first. I haven't gone first in a while, and I kind of already spilled my beans a little bit.
Go ahead, buddy. Spill those beans.
God, I chose Tour de France by Kraftwerk.
dernière étape, Champs-Élysées, Tour de France, Tour de France.
So I feel like it was about time to get some Kraftwerk on this playlist. I feel like they are, looking through their catalog, a band that's seemingly unfit for our playlist because most of their songs are very extended in length, sometimes ranging into 20-minute area. You know, Audubon, not a great album for playlists, but that's okay. But they're sort of their pioneers in the electronic genre. And I feel like somehow, you know, it has been decades, but their sound they still sound fresh as ever. And I feel like it's kind of wild that I feel like they don't really get the attention that they really should for being such pioneers. And maybe that's probably because some of their songs are a little elongated in that way. You know, maybe they don't necessarily get the radio play in that instance, but I feel like really undeserved unattention. I feel like they really deserve it. Anyway, so I kind of started in this section because I remember the one bike shop I went to, I was dropping some coffee off for work. They played a Yo La Tango song, Point and Shoot, and it kind of got me in sort of like a 60s sound and sort of like in that area, and that kind of started to make me think about Kraftwerk. And so I was kind of thinking about, I was kind of like flipping through things. And of course, you know, it's an album that's about a bike race, you know, tangentially, you know, and the lyrics to the song are about the race. And, you know, and I realized that technically the challenge isn't about racing bikes, but, you know, I felt like it was kind of fun, especially considering little Foley sounds they got in there, you know, especially like, I don't know, I feel like that there was probably not ever going to be a challenge where we were going to talk that where those were like a bike sound was going to be appropriate. So that was kind of like an interesting inclusion. I think that was kind of fun. But so what I was thinking about and really kind of what made me choose this song in particular is that I was listening to it. There's sort of like this harp sound. It's really glistening and it's there's always like a very ambient sort of like synth sound that sort of makes me feel like a cool breeze, you know, sort of like I feel like a sunny day. And I feel like there's kind of like a harder segment that kind of makes me feel like, you know, like maybe I'm pumping up a hill, you know, like I'm really, you know, like puts a little bit of force into it. And I feel like what's kind of nice is that there's a good play between sort of, like I said, this sort of like airy sort of like ambient sort of synth sounds with like this very consistent sort of like drum beat that really, I feel like really kind of keeps your pace going, because really I feel like when you're really kind of going on a bike, you gotta pedal like a lot faster. Like the rotations are going to be so much faster than like if you're like running or like just like walking. So I felt like I was like, okay, this feels justified in this instance. I feel like sort of like that sort of momentum is justified there. But yeah, I don't know. It's a little long, but I feel like you're going on a long bike ride, right?
So, like Tyler said, it's about time that we got some Kraftwerk on here. Kraftwerk, very important band, often overlooked to Tyler's. I would say the whole krautrock movement, of which Kraftwerk is a part, this kind of experimental rock movement in Germany in the 60s and 70s, it gets ignored a lot because it's so weird. Like, Heroes, the album by David Bowie, is perhaps the most approachable version of krautrock. And even that, the B-side is all ambient music. Like, it was a weird time. People really thought civilization was coming to an end. And that's what this music was kind of made for. Like, Kraftwerk described their music as robot pop. It is intentionally super repetitive and long because it was about turning music into machinery. It was very, like, philosophical. You know, as a media student, we studied Kraftwerk and things like this a lot. As a fan of music, you know, I see Kraftwerk as very important. I don't seek it out very often because it's kind of an experience. You're going to sit through very long, extended passages of really repetitive synth lines. And if you need to get into a trance, that's perfect. If you just want to like listen to something, maybe not. That being said, I am only really familiar with like the classics like Audubon and Trans-Europe Express. I didn't know about this album, which came out in 2003. And I'm really interested to listen to it on my next bike ride because it's a little more fleshed out in the production than a usual Kraftwerk. Like, it's not as industrial. And I kind of like the sampling of like human breaths and like bike chains and things. It gives it a little bit more of an organic feel, whereas a lot of Kraftwerk is very, very industrial. You know, would I listen to this just around the house or something? Probably not, but I would definitely listen to this on a bike ride. And in that way, I feel like you nailed it.
Oh man, this is a disappointing song for me.
I'm just gonna say, not surprised.
I know.
Not surprised at all.
I knew you guys were gonna say that as soon as I think you put it in there. You knew like there's gonna be some shade
Not
on
for
this
Sean.
one, but I think it met the challenge because it's a subjective challenge, but it's a little on the nose. It's a little too experimental. I think Taylor's trying his best to academia it into meaning something, which is a...
Well, I think there's also, like, I don't know. For me, when I'm riding my bike, I want music that's propulsive, but that's not going to, like, take my whole attention. Because I need to pay attention to where I'm going and not get hit by cars. And I feel like this would be the perfect, like, amount of mental energy. You know, I tried to bike while listening to Cream one time, like Disraeli Gears. I was like, you know, I'm gonna do some like psychedelic guitar rock. No, too much. Takes your whole brain. You can't do that while riding a bike. You're gonna crash.
You stop seeing. You gotta turn down the music so you can see which way to turn.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. You should do you. This is definitely you. I find this song to be as annoying as ASMR, but less sexually frustrated than ASMR.
Incredible considering the breathing.
Yeah. Did you know the Tour de France is on right now?
I didn't.
Okay.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How are they doing?
Who's winning? Did they do a touchdown?
Who's winning?
How many points do they have? How many points does La France have?
You know, if you told me there
How
was
many
a point
innings
system
are left?
for competitive cycling, I'd believe you.
There is a point system. There is a point
Taylor just
system.
said
I'm not messing with you. There is a point system.
Yeah, I believe
okay.
it. You want to talk about
No, it isn't the
Okay.
time and place.
it?
Go
Okay,
to
you're right.
Armstrong, we can talk about it.
We get it, Sean. You're not here for Kraftwerk. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I feel like I don't often choose the thing about the thing or tangentially relate. I feel like I usually say, I'm going to completely avoid this thing, the more obvious answer. And this time I just decided I have no context for this activity whatsoever, so I'm going to go a little more on the nose.
It's too bad I don't live in
feel like you would
Cincinnati.
enjoy
I'd have been like, you know what? Let's just go look for a bike. Let's just get you in that headspace. Like, let's go try a bike.
The good news is sooner or later you'll... just a few short hours away.
That's right. This fall, episode 210, Tyler and Sean do cyclocross. Tyler learns what looking in a death space looks like.
All downhill, baby.
Actually, if there's one thing I've learned about cycling over the years, it's that it's definitely not all downhill. That's kind of the whole
No,
point.
it's very uphill.
You don't just get off and
but I
start
guess-
walking. You just
No, it's not skiing.
No.
But I guess I'll go next. This week I chose Questions by Middle Kids.
Way up there, 3 feet away, can't make you stay. And how are we supposed to dance and kiss when we are sighing all the time? And I got questions, and you got answers. I'm not sure if they're fact or fiction. And I got questions, and you got answers. And I'm not sure.
Middle Kids is a indie pop, indie rock group. Kind of came about in the late 2010s, and I remember vaguely hearing about them. And then they put out this album in late 2020, and this was one of the singles, and it just popped up in like my new music discovery playlist or whatever, and I really fell in love with it. It has like a it's like not quite an Arcade Fire feel.
Mm.
It's a little more.
I see where you're going, though.
It's a little more synthy than that, but it's in that space. Like, it has big builds. I love the hand claps. Like, I'm a sucker for an intricate hand clap pattern. And her voice, it comes in so soft, and then when it builds, it just soars over these huge, like, harmonies and horns and a really cool running bass line. Like, it feels like going down the first big hill on a new bike. And that's why I picked it, is like, there's a little bit of apprehension in the beginning where you're like, is this the bike for me? Like, am I feeling this right? Do I need to adjust the seat? Like, I'm not sure I'm vibing. But then you climb that first hill, and when you go down the other side, it's like, oh yeah, this is my bike. This is exactly what I wanted. And this is actually on my cycling playlist, and I put it on whenever I have a really big hill to climb, because those hand claps, man, like, they're the perfect rhythm for pedaling. You just push it up, and if you can time that descent with those horns, picture perfect.
Well, good. I'm glad that you were going downhill, because this song sure did when those horns came on.
Get out. Get out. Off the podcast.
Get him out of here.
Mr. I love Arcade Fire, but it can't have horns in it.
They don't have horns in Arcade Fire.
They do.
They don't. Not as much as this.
Definitely not as much as this, but they do have horns.
God, they had to hire a whole marching band to just do this dumb song and video.
So I take it you didn't enjoy this one.
No. It was too slow, and then it was horns.
I don't know, man. I like the build. I like the progression.
Right, so...
You know, riding a bike to me is like, it's a little bit of ebb and flow. Like, you're not going at a constant speed. You're changing gears. You're shifting. Your feet may be moving at the same speed the whole time, but you physically are not, you know?
I mean, I buy the story of Taylor being unsure of the purchase, contemplating the choice, and then going to get the thing, and then the joy of riding the bike. You're like, okay, all right, I can see the narrative here, you know? I, however, do love, like, the 20 trombones that are in this song. That's like one trombone that's just doubled up. We've got very trombone-y in these last few months, which is far more than we've had probably in the years of doing this podcast. So, you know, I guess move over secret sax. It's time for apparent trombone time. But no. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's been a few weeks since I really loved a Taylor song, and I'm loving this one. It's okay. Listen, sometimes Taylor chooses songs from a different era that don't strike me.
This is a relatively new song. It's only a year old.
Yeah, right. Post-Breakup Obsessed was not a song for me. Didn't like it. Sometimes it's a little whiny dude talking about his problems, okay? But this is good.
Whoa.
Now, a woman talking about her problems. Now
I doesn't want to look in the mirror, Taylor, so...
Preach.
But no, I mean... I feel like when I first heard this, I was unsure where the song was gonna go in the first like 20 seconds. Like, oh my god, is this gonna be? There's no way Taylor's gonna be posting a sad song for riding a bike. This is about the jubilation of movement. You're like, wow, I love pushing myself forward and achieving my goals. But no, I do feel like sort of like the drop in this song is like it does its job. I think it does. I think it affected me. I felt it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if like. Based on the song that I chose, is obviously we're at odds in regards to like my sort of like my mind palace for like riding a bike. But you know, I think the story you concocted was good. I think it makes sense. I follow through with it. Good pick.
But just out of curiosity, you picked a breakup song for a new bike purchase?
It's not about the lyrics at all.
Oh, okay.
Not about the lyrics.
It's...
Because a little bit too, I was like, wow, you picked a sad song for buying a new bike. This seems like a joyous occasion.
No, it's about the like musical vibe of the song, not the lyrics. which is rare for me because I'm usually a lyrics guy.
Yeah, I respect that.
All right, Sean, that just leaves you.
Ooh, all right. And with Exercising Our Demons, tonight I chose Ain't No Easy Way Out by the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club.
Prepare your way to steal a hand. Ain't no easy way, no, there ain't no easy way out. There ain't no easy way, no, there ain't no easy way out. There ain't no easy way, no, there ain't no easy way out.
Yeah. Probably talked about this band way too much on this show and picked them not enough.
That's right. It's the first time, isn't it?
It might be.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Probably the best concert I've been to in my whole life. Maybe I think it was the people more than the band, and the time. But that said, how do I feel about bikes? I kind of alluded to it earlier that I have a developed relationship with bikes that has run the span of my whole life. And to talk about this, I should say how I learned how to ride a bike was my grandparents used to have a little hill in their front yard, and my uncle would just put us on the bike without training wheels, and we would just ride down the hill until we fell down, and then we would go back up to the top of the hill, and then we just ride down the hill until you could ride out to the street. And then once you rode out to the street, hopefully you could turn before you got to the street. So maybe that's why it doesn't like really faze me all the time when I fall on bikes, because it was like one of those assumptions that I just understood was going to happen. And the relationships that I have with bikes is complicated like that, where I've had a lot of really, really fun times on a bike, and I've had probably some of the most frustrating times in my life on the bike. And there just isn't an easy way out for me at this point in time. Like, I find there to be, like, now when I go ride, it's a very nice thing to do. It's relaxing for me. I can just focus, like Taylor was saying, I can focus on it. And I can focus on doing the activity at hand and forget about all the other things that are unpleasant for me right now. But then sometimes when I think about how much money I have to spend on bikes, especially with the pandemic when there was a bike shortage, you're just realizing that you're paying like way too much than you normally would for anything. And there's nothing. So when you have it, you would just have to like bulk buy it. And sometimes that part is really painful, that you're just like, oh crap, every time you go into the bike shop, you know you're dropping like $100. And it's painful to do that, but the higher purpose is to become a better human being for me. So I just
Therapy.
lean into it, right?
This song has achieved basically mythological standards in my mind. For the listeners who may be newer to the show, Sean is 4 years older than me. So he was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. And I remember when he came home from college after his first year of undergrad, there were like a handful of things that had changed about Sean. And one of them was Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. I don't know if he had listened to them before this, but he gave me a copy of this album and Beatty 81, and forever and ever, those two albums have been associated with Sean in my head. Like, there's just something that is such a moment in time about them. And in particular, this song, the slide guitar tones, the acoustic guitar. I don't know what kind of acoustic guitar this is. I assume it's one of those that has like the resonator in it. Am I using the correct term there, Sean?
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't know if there's an app, but yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in country music where you have an acoustic guitar, but with steel or aluminum piece around the insert where the sound comes out. Like, it is just so unique, the timbre of this guitar. And as soon as I hear it, I'm like, oh, that's Ain't No Easy Way by Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. Like, it is hot summer nights. It is Sean talking about the newest bike that he found in a dumpster. It is all of those things. It's the perfect song for this. You know, You're climbing a big hill, ain't no easy way out. Just bought a new bike, ain't no easy way out. You know, it's a song about love and hate, and hating to love someone, which is Sean's relationship to bikes. But it's also just a damn good song. And like, never has a song owned its tambourine more than this song. Except maybe Green Tambourine. Like, I don't even know if there is a snare drum in this song, because in my head, it's all tambourine all the way. What a weird song. Like, this is like a biker rock band. Like, almost metal in places, but this is like a bluesy juke joint song. And, oh man, I just love it. I just love it so much.
Also fun that this was my first concert with Sean and Greg.
First concert ever, or just first concert with Sean?
First concert ever.
It was only downhill
I have
from
heard about
Tyler's
this
life.
concert for my entire life. They always talk about this, and for the longest time I thought Black Rebel Motorcycle Club was a famous band. I didn't realize that almost no one knows who they are, and then I met someone later in life who did know who they were, and I was like, oh man! Still haven't seen them.
Part of the club.
I still haven't seen them, and at this point I'm afraid
they're still
to.
doing stuff.
I don't want the myth, the legend to be ruined.
Right. But yeah, I mean, so I already have like a history with the song in this band, and I'm already like, oh great, well I'm glad we finally got them on the playlist. So at the base level, I'm already ecstatic. I already love the song. Got no notes on it. I think what's most compelling about the song is that it is so circular feeling. It feels like the lyrics just sort of like are in a loop, and you really could almost just loop the song. And you'd be like, well, great. I just get to keep listening to like the same cool thing over and over again. And that's the brain rot for me, is that I will listen to a song 4 times in a row. But I mean, Taylor already said, slide guitar. How can you not love it? Thanks, Cowboy Bebop. Just love a good, just the kind of grimy slide guitar. It just makes you feel like you're in a place you shouldn't be, and a harmonica, which is just like an instrument that it does not get used. It doesn't get used very often, but when it does, it's usually by the correct time for the correct sound, and it's always good. And this is a good example of that. Just please, be more harmonica songs. I don't know. There's something about the way that Black Rebel Motorcycle Club like sort of expresses their sort of frustrations in a way. They're like, hey, my life kind of is not great, but I feel like they don't express it in a way that it feels comforting. It feels like this is like the catharsis they need to get through whatever they're doing. And in a way, it's sort of, you can sort of feel it in them, and that's sort of like, that means like if you're going through whatever they're going through, you can sort of feel, I don't know, you feel like that bond in a way. I don't know, there's certain kinds of pain that you just need to feel like you have a friend for, and I feel like they cover a lot of songs that feel that way. Now, to be fair, when you put the song in, I had no idea. I was like, Sean just chose a fun song that sounds like he's just grinding up a hill. He's working hard. He's doing what he's got to do. As it turns out, this is a toxic relationship. Apparently, is this a cry for help, Sean? Did you post this song because you can't quit loving the bikes?
I understand our relationship, and I know the way that it is.
I suppose as long as you
acceptance
know and you're
is the
aware,
first step.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's good.
In the same way that Josiah came in and just talked to Taylor about how his problem was consuming his household. Just imagine having that like once every other week.
And that's life in Sean's house.
Yeah. Do you hear Sarah? She's very upset with me. Sarah is very patient with the bikes living in the house. But the reason that in our new house, that we have a bigger garage is because that's where the bikes will now live. They will no longer live in the dining room next to the table. They live in a garage where bikes are supposed to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is where they belong.
It's not an unreasonable request.
It's not. But in this economy,
A garage door? Garage?
in a panini,
All right. It's time for us to do listener suggestions. But before we do listener suggestions, I know that we had so much fun talking about bikes tonight. But sometimes, you know what is just as dangerous but has 4 times the wheels? That's right, roller skates. And you know where you can have a great time? Beachmont Roll Arena. Come on down, Beachmont Roll Arena. We have more skates, more skate wheels than you have friends. That's the kind of place that Beachmont Roll Arena is. And you know what's great? No matter where you go on the Beachmont Roll Arena, you always end up in the same place. Funtown. That's right. Funtown, Skate USA, Beachmont Roll Arena. So with that, very smooth segue. Let's get to some listener submissions. Okay, I'm going to read what it is, and then we're going to have a new segment before we go into B-sides.
oh no,
So,
we are going to have a new segment.
okay.
I already have the segment teed up, but you got to read the listener suggestion, and then we'll
Okay.
move on. Okay.
All right. So, 190, buying a new bike. Jack Van Kuren put Nights Like These by Pigeon Pit.
Not Passion Pit.
Not Passion Pit. I had to Google it. It's actually Pigeon Pit. I am not familiar. I will look it up.
Passion Pit
However,
also good.
I'm sorry, Tyler. You're not going to have anything to say in this part. But part of the reason I picked up that Panasonic bike is because friend of the show, actual patron, Jack Van Kuren, just restored a Panasonic bike. Sean, I have sent pictures.
Oh my god.
I'm going to put his build in the notes. And instead of reading more listener suggestions, we're going to talk about his bike build. That's right.
what
It's
a
all
s-
bike content
What a
all the way
sweet
down.
ride. Holy shit. Dude, I would like punch him out on the road just to steal this thing.
Built it all the way up from scratch.
I just want to be clear. I had no idea what you were about to say. I was scared. I was very scared. When Taylor has a surprise, it's
All right, so
not
I'm
always.
gonna attempt to read this. I'm probably gonna mess up some of these pronunciations. It's a Panasonic DX2000 chromoly frame,
Hell yeah.
Sakai drop bars, Mavic CXP Elite track wheel set, All City 16T X 1/8 track cog, Shimano Dura Ace lock ring, All City 46T 612 crankset,
Damn.
fixation pedals and straps, Tektro R539 brakes, some Continental Ultra Sport 3 28mm tires, Sinelli Volet handlebar tape, a completely rebuilt headset, and a resealed bottom bracket. I watched him reseal the bottom bracket on Instagram stories. That looked like a ton of work. He put in the time on this bike, folks.
You can-
I will
you can
try and get
tell.
a picture for show notes. It is gorgeous.
The only upgrade I would make to this bike is if you want to go ahead and just dump in the extra $120 and get a black Brooks C17 to put on this bad boy, you are going to have the sexiest ride in town.
And it's already a very good looking bike.
Damn.
Jack understood the assignment.
That's impressive. And our other listener suggestion, super podcast pal Ivan chose 10 Speed by Coheed and Cambria. Had you guys know this song, or what album is this off of? Do I know this song? You said it's off American Idiot?
No, it's on Good Apollo on Burning Star 4 Volume 1 From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. You can't say a Coheed and Cambria album like you're like, oh yeah, that one. Totally.
Oh, it's the one with the 4 on the cover.
Yeah. It's the one with all the ones that you know, because you probably haven't been paying attention to Coheed and Cambria for like 10 years.
That one?
Yes.
10 Speed, Godblood and Burial. 10 Speed, Godblood and Burial. Just like
Okay.
that. That's how the song goes.
Well done, Ivan. Way to dredge out the past with a great pick. Hadn't thought about that band in ages.
You know, Coheed's not a bad band for getting you pumped. I believe it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I see it. It's not my choice. There
wouldn't be.
There's a guy in the bike club I used to be into, and he used to have a pump up mix that was a mix of Sad Girl and metal. I thought that was a very interesting mindset to be in. But let me tell you this: he was fantastic at bikes, like way better than I ever was. And he's just all around much nicer guy than I am. So, more power to him.
He's in touch with his emotions and he knows how to rage.
I know, it's a gift. All right, so B-sides. I mean, just like bikes, you probably have another wheel that needs turning. So, go for it.
Buzz Cut by Brockhampton featuring Danny Brown. I mean, I almost did it to him. I almost put some Brockhampton on here. Also, Synchronized by Milky Chance. The new single from Bastille, Remind Me.
Okay.
Pretty good bike song. And then I couldn't pick it because I've already picked him too many times, but this time I'm going to try it my way by DJ Shadow.
Just a few. Good Time Ride by Ronnie Laws. Drive Like He Stole It by Glitch Mob.
Ooh, good one.
That album, Drink the Sea, is gonna get on this playlist in the next decade. I promise.
I think maybe Praise You Like I Should by Fatboy Slim would be a really good one. Hot take. And then maybe like Devil's Haircut by Beck. I just feel like I have like a really bunch of weird feelings about bikes. It's complicated. It's all like that would be the other challenge for me.
I feel like a lot of Beck is very good bicycling music.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Sure.
You can't tell me that 1000 BPM wouldn't be a weird, fun, oddly fun song to ride your bike to. Oh,
I'm doing that this weekend. You better believe it. Well, Tyler, if people want to decrease your chain, where can they do it?
I don't know what that means. Hey, everybody, you can find my design illustration work at rudepets.club. And as always, the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Rude Pets Club. Thanks.
Sean, if people's cables need tightening, where can they get advice from you?
Oh yeah, if you got an FTP of 350 plus, or your resting heart rate is below 45, you can check me out on Instagram.
And if you're not sure if that spokes Ben or not, but you want a second opinion, you can find me on the socials at TC Olmstead. All of these songs will be on the official No Repeat podcast playlist, which I do not recommend for cycling. But you can find us here next week on another episode of No Repeat.